Okay, this is the lesson on the volume of prisms and cylinders, and we're going to just jump right to the formula card. You're going to like volume. It's a lot simpler than surface area. So I've got several different prisms that we're going to do, so I'm just going to cover these up so we kind of focus. We've got our triangular prism, which is going to start with 1/2 base times height, and I always like to put the base, or even if you put the bottom here, or this is the triangular part of the shape. And then you have height, and this is height of the prism. So the height of the prism, different than the base and height of the triangle. And we'll do one where we'll talk about that and how they're different. The next one is a rectangular prism. That's just length times width times height. Very straightforward. So a length, a width, and a height, and just multiply them. Next up, we've got our like hexagon or pentagon type shapes. So we do the base, which is 1/2 ANS. That's the base, or the bottom, and then H is the height of the prism. Last up is our cylinder, so area of the base is pi r squared, and then we times the height of the cylinder. So very straightforward, a lot easier than doing surface area. So here we go. First one is a cylinder, and this is an oblique cylinder because it's tipped sideways, but the volume doesn't change. So the volume for us is going to be pi r squared h. So pi times radius, which is 4, and height, which is 7. I'll show you two different answers you can give. You can do 7 times 4 squared, and one answer you can write is 112 pi. That's actually the exact answer. If you type in 112 pi in your calculator and get 351.86, that is totally fine. This is just the approximate answer, since we're kind of rounding and we're cutting off decimals. Either way, oops, cubed. We need a centimeters cubed because now we're doing volume. So either one of these answers will work. Next up, we've got one of our pentagon pictures. So our volume for this is 1/2 ANS, and then we're going to times by height of the prism. So 1/2 A, I don't have A would be right here. Apothem would be from center down to the middle of a side. So we're going to have to do Pythagoras to figure that out. Number of sides is going to be 5, side length is 7.05, and then height of the prism is 9. So I'm just going to redraw that triangle off to the side so I can see it a little better. 6 is here, 90, we're looking for that right there. That is my apothem. And then this side will be half of 7.05, so we're going to take that side length and we're going to cut it in half. So this will be 3525. So we're going to do Pythagorean's theorem. So I'm going to take 6 squared, which is 36, and I'm going to subtract that 3.05 squared. And then I end up doing the square root of that. Whoops, I hit the button wrong. And I get about 4.86. Drop that in there, and then we just type all of this in. So I got 1/2, and then that 4.86 answer, 5, 7.05, and the 9. So about 770.18 feet cubed. Two more. We have an oblique triangular prism to do the volume of. So volume is supposed to be 1/2 base times height, and this is of your triangle, and then we have height of the prism. So just focused on the triangle. If I just trace that triangle, the base and height are 9 and 5. But the height of the prism, how tall the prism is actually an 8. So these two heights are most likely should be different. The only time they'd be the same is like if all these numbers were the same. But these guys usually should be different. So I got 1/2 times 9 times 5 times 8 gives me 180. Last one's a composite shape. We were doing these in surface area too. And now we're going to take things out of our composite shapes. When we did surface area, we were adding them together. We'd have one shape stacked on top of another. And here we're going to take one out. So I'm going to have a cylinder, which is my outside shape, and then I'm cutting out another cylinder from the inside. So we're going to do pi r squared h, and then we're going to take out the one on the inside. So my outside cylinder, its radius would be from there all the way to the edge, and they've told me that that is 18. So 18 is my radius. Height of the cylinder is 20. And then I'm going to subtract. I'll have a new radius here. So they're telling me that this little piece, what's left, I'm going to cut all of this out and just leave a little 3-inch space there. So that means my radius from here to just that edge is just 3 inches less than 18. So the whole thing was 18. I back off 3 inches. So 15 is my radius of what I'm cutting out of the inside of this pipe. And then my height is still 20. So now we're going to type all that in. And we're going to subtract off the pi 15 squared times 20. So I get about 6,220.35 inches cubed. So as you can see, volume is a way easier than surface area was. We mainly just do the area of the base shape, and then we just times by height of the prism.